Hey, you guys, how are you doing? Happy month of July. Um, yeah, I hope you're doing well. As we continue to, I want to say dig in, but you know what? It's ironic because Spirit already corrects me and like the message already corrects itself, and that there's really not, it's not the greatest time to make an effort to dig in, like be stubborn, stick your heels down, dig in. Spirit is, the message immediately saying no is quite the opposite of that. When we have so many elements of water in really big ways, really timeline completing type ways. And it's wild. Like, and I will say that being grounded is very different energetically than saying, oh, I'm just going to dig my heels in. Being well rooted, it makes me think of how a lot of warrior practices teach, if you don't have good foundational footwork in any practice. I mean, think of dance, think of ballet, where they're constantly doing it's like the way you move your legs, the where you place your feet is a strong foundation. It's like this. It's like being submissive to the flow, of all of this water energy and all of these water archetypes right now. And yes, we're going to talk about Mercury is actually going into Leo. So I think that will help us a lot as far as maybe being more playful with the energy. Um, but listen, I don't know. It's like, our spirit guides and our ancestors team, they kind of chuckle already. And it's like, no, this is a time to feel it all. Feel it all. Y'all, what was that song that used to be like, I feel it all. Dang it, I feel it all. Y'all, that was a song and it got played out for like ever for a minute. Was it like a 90s thing or early 2000s? Was it Fout? No, what was her name? Anyway, listen. Yeah, water and the streams of water and the fluidity, sound, healing, all these things, they're even heightened right now. So I'm not surprised that it's like music, songs, and all these things constantly come through. Um, but listen, hey, you guys. Okay, Spirit was like, let's just get into it. I hope you're doing well out there. It is Wednesday. Today's July 3rd. We are Pluto movements, Pluto oppositions and trines were on my mind today. We checked in with each other on Monday, and yeah, it's a watery couple of weeks on top of we continue to return, and it's so important not to miss, everything that Saturn in Pisces retrograde, now Neptune also retrograde in Pisces, that this stillness, this void, these ending, not only decans, but even all the way down to degrees to minutes. If you're into astrology a little bit deeper, you know that, oh my gosh, it's like the different degrees. We're like, oh my gosh. Um, what's the rundown, you guys? I just wanted to check in with you guys. It's Wednesday. We will please continue to do your banishing and release. Please continue to do that if it is a bath ritual, if it is candle work, if it is just meditatively done. I will say that you guys know I make, candles and oils and tools and all the things, right? Cord cutting and just this as a general flow has been coming through a lot collectively and being channeled in creative things and coming up in conversation. Okay. And so as we focus on, this is a really big, important time, like right now is so hugely important because of the way that if we work our powerful banishing intentions, or if you, I don't know, for some reason people have an aversion to that word. They're like, it's so absolute. I banish you. And remember, it's not, we don't, it depends on your practice, to each their own. as we evolve and continue to work through and close out and integrate 3D and 4D and all these things, and we try to move more and more into, again, we are anchoring down the 5D organic, as some would say, new earth, evolved sort of. It's not a grid as the same as it used to be, but let's not get into it. As we bring that down, we also continue to rise to meet it spiritually, energetically, in frequency and vibration and intention and thought. So part of that is, let's say, when we're talking about banishing, because it's really important to understand this and how you can work with this energy in Cancer season. It is very helpful in closing out past lives. It is very helpful in completing karmic loops. It is very helpful in closing, integrating, moving on from like past timelines. It is also an ancestral karmic time, a generational time, Cancer season, all of these energies, right? We will also be moving towards, on Friday, the new moon in Cancer. So if you're one that kind of likes to kind of, it's like tidying up the house spiritually. If you work with dark moon energies, in the intuitive emotional realms, right? And then you're flowing towards your new moon in Cancer, you're really kind of setting a lot of new intentions. And you're kind of stepping into something, the way that I see it, in this next lunar cycle with the new moon in Cancer, working up to, again, that second 2 in a row we had those full moons in Capricorn. So it's like you're establishing an entire new, I don't know. Remember when we were talking about cutting off a whole line off the tree? Are you stepping into, it's almost like now you're growing either a whole new branch, or I don't know, to each their own. Maybe you're the whole new tree. It makes sense too, in a way, if we think of how much we've talked about it coming into our divine ancestral inheritance, right? So with all that being said, the next couple of weeks, until I'm going to say, especially right now, right? Over the next couple of days. And you could really even say, hypothetically, we'll talk about this more on the new moon, but we can use this specific coming moon cycle to set a lot of these big intentions that are going to reverberate out through years to come, because it's like you're establishing an entire new lineage. And with that declaration, you're healing prior ancestral lines, as we say, 7 times 7 times 7 generations back, 7 times 7 times 7 generations forward. It's a big thing, right? But this idea of banishing, it doesn't have to necessarily be tied to, please, again, disclaimer, use your own intuition. Follow your guides, your spiritual practice. Listen to your inner voice, because everyone's path is very unique and different and their own for a reason. So we're just talking in generalities, right? But when we talk about, hey, it's important to really do your banishing work, I want you to understand that. Sorry, I was just scrolling through. Yeah, Mercury is kind of the big shift this week. And also a lot of activity that Pluto is doing, I think, not only this week, but throughout the month is kind of a big deal. We'll come back to that. But Spirit is having me linger here on this idea of banishing work. I want you to understand that ultimately, at the core of it, you're banishing, or you can even say you're just releasing. You're just cutting cords. You can even, Spirit is showing me, like, back it out, make it more simple, purify it as much as possible. You could even say detachment. Ultimately, at the core of the energetic frequency and the root of the practice is that you are detaching. And that's not always from a specific person, place, thing, event. Although it will feel, we will see a lot of the energetic forms come up through relationships right now. Because we have the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, a lot of where you will find yourself practicing, whether you choose to say detachment and you associate that with a cord cutting ritual, or just a meditation about, releasing things that are attached to me, or I'm attached to them, that are not in their highest and best good, in their highest and best form. Let me always, Spirit is having me share with you, a lot of times when I do that cord cutting work, it's more like, let me always, let me learn to always choose the evolution towards my highest and good, to my highest and best good, my most evolved, my most healed and self-aware version of me. And as long as I can continue to detach in a way that is for my highest and best good and moving more and more so that I can be in sync with that vibration, to the highest, let's say, tier that I have access to at this time. Let me and help me and guide me and show me, protect me and lead me, right? To detach from anything that would limit me from doing that. And that's a great way to just kind of cover a lot of bases and then let the universe and your spirit guides and your team and the highest and best good work on your behalf with less limitations. Do you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we think that it has to be a cord cutting for a person, and it doesn't. Sometimes we might be holding on to more cords than we really, really are ready to be shown at the time, So sometimes we need to be open to let the energy move and work. Let spirit and yourself, you with you, your ancestors, yourself in higher versions, right? To guide you and move for you in the ways that are for your highest and best good. So, and that works with, when we utilize these tools like black salts, different cleansing waters for purification, for whatever it is that you do and how you do your work. We may say the Nazar, like the evil eye tool, these tools, right? This is what the intention we want to make sure that we hold. And I'll tell you too, it's as much as you can purify that intention, and in and of itself, not let your intentions only be attached to like a person or one specific outcome or one relationship, or it could, you know what I'm saying? That way, the fluidity of the highest and best good of the energy can move in your favor. You know what I'm saying? So it's really good when we have a lot of water. And yeah, we do have Mercury has now moved into Leo. So we are going to be experiencing, it's kind of like this. I may be ready to express a lot of things as I've been working through a lot of emotions. Mercury, Leo is the heart chakra. Leo is the inner child. Leo is, maybe I want to kind of return to a little bit of joyfulness of the present moment because a lot of this water is heavy. A lot of these relationship dynamics that we're navigating, evolving through, or maybe releasing altogether. It's a lot to process. So Mercury in Leo too is kind of like, I'm confident, or that Leo energy is like, oh, I'm going to be heard. Oh, if I need to go up and air these feelings or practice my detachment, maybe part of that is really understanding this is my truth now, or speaking my truth now. It's going to be clarity. Mercury, that is your mental perception. That's your third eye and your crown. That's your mental body and your perspective of how you see your reality, right? It's also messages from spirit. We may feel like because Mercury is in Leo, they kind of get louder in your higher self, or your team in spirit, or your ancestors might say, oh, we've got a story and we want to make sure you hear it. Or, there's a little bit of stubbornness too, I will say. So once again, it makes sense why Spirit wanted to bring through that message about how to practice the purest form of like cord cutting and detachment that you can from energies that you've outgrown, people, places, things. But ideally, frequencies. Or Spirit is even saying with that Mercury and Leo placement, the way you've had misconceptions about your own self-worth, because sometimes that leads us to attach to people, places, or things because we think we're getting something out of it and we're really not. We could be getting that from ourselves, right? So I see that there could be a lot of freedom this week as we move towards the new moon in Cancer on Friday. And then, of course, Venus is still in Cancer. I don't know. Okay, listen, Mercury and Leo, Venus and Cancer, it can be this like, I don't know, it's almost like a touchy-feely. Remember, we've talked about in Cancer season, it's important that we kind of cocoon. We're in a place where we feel safe and secure, safety and security, stability while I'm sorting through all these emotions. So there may be, I don't know, on a shadow side, there may be, let's go, I don't know, Spirit was like, let's flip to the shadow. The shadow of this energy this week can be tricky because we might find if we are maybe not dealing with the detachment so well, and that's okay because you're a spiritual, divinely sovereign being having a human experience. That's a process. That's a part of the grieving of the emotions. It's not necessarily going to be so easy to let go for some people and some energies, some entities. But on the shadow side of this is kind of like, I want to bypass doing this hard work or voicing these new truths or seeing with new clarity what is really true for the, I don't know, spirit, for the highest and best good of my heart chakra. Maybe I'm trying to bypass a lot of things because it feels too heavy or because the grief is too much to process. With some of these placements, really especially, well, Venus will leave Cancer next week. Is it next week? It's like the 11th to the 12th, something like that. And Venus in Cancer can sometimes, like I said, on the shadow can be a little bit like clingy. It can kind of be like, I don't know. What am I saying, Spirit? Being overly cautious, like I need to hold on to what it is that I know is familiar to me, even if my heart space is telling me that it's time to let go and let everything, including people, including situations or whatever. Remember, right now, a lot of our lessons are working still with the North Node in Aries. Let me look this up. I don't have it in front of me. I want to see. Let me refresh myself. Because we're still working with these dynamics of what relationships need to go and what need to stay. How much longer are we going to be in this energy, Spirit? Hold on, guys. Sorry. I mean, we still got a good while. Okay. I just want to verify so we can kind of put a pin note in it in the back of our minds. I don't know, because it's like this whole, it's not me, it's you. No, it's not you, it's me. Well, actually, it's both of us. And it's this whole pitting ourselves against each other instead of kind of working together to evolve. It's us. It's when you heal, I heal. Maybe we both need to let go to move forward. Natural endings. Do you know what I'm saying? Or, wow, I didn't know that once I was finally able to kind of release everything, it turned into something else completely that I never expected. You remember in the beginning. Now, hold on, we're following. We're following the breadcrumbs. Spirit is saying. I was opening this video by saying I was fascinated by how Pluto is moving, not only through next week, but also through the remainder of July. And it made me think about earlier in the year, we were making these comments. Remember I kept saying, what was it? Pluto pinball? Pluto is going to give us more pinball. We're going to have multiple oppositions. I think it's the moon, Venus, and the sun. We're going to have multiple trines, again, with the moon, Lilith, and Mars. So Pluto and Aquarius retrograde doing these oppositions. Especially I'm focusing on the oppositions. But yes, there are trines. And one could argue, well, you got as many trines as you do oppositions. So Pluto is doing a lot of balancing work for us in this month. And that's absolutely true. But, Pluto rules death and the underworld and the whole transformation of, sometimes the way that we saw that energy, the way that we exchanged that love, the way that we bonded over toxicity, or the way that we were connecting through trauma or pitting ourselves against one another, whatever the case may be, right? This is relationships with family members, maybe soulmated relationships, friendships. That can include friendships, longtime friend. It doesn't have to be romantic, but also includes that, obviously. It's kind of this energy of like, oh, we're rewriting the script. We're recognizing how we understand that we behave with one another and such, right? And it's evolution at its finest, Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, right? But it makes me think of how we're talking about these nodal points. And I think we will have a square at the end of the month. coming up to the lunar nodes. So that's interesting. It makes sense. It's like Pluto wants to help us understand, I don't know, with the help of also Chiron and Aries. Is that retrograde right now? Shit. I'm sorry, y'all. It's like I'm getting this image of like some bridges need to be burned, and bitch, we ride at dawn, right? With the little cat on the back of the dog. We ride at dawn, right? But then I'm also getting this image of like some bridges will actually absolve, but then there'll be a new bridge, and you'll be like, oh, I never, right? It's almost like Spirit is showing me this image now of like a flood knocked out a bridge, and we cried and we mourned, and it was really, really tough. But then we go back to that trail like 2 weeks later. Our Spirit is saying different time frames, 2 weeks later, 3 months later, 2 years later, etc., etc. And then we go, oh my gosh, guys, we can hike a whole new trail because although the landscape has changed, the heart of it is there. And look, who rebuilt the bridges? Do you get what I'm saying? It's kind of this energy as well, because mind you, we'll have a Venus retrograde coming up in Leo season 2, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Dang, all of that tangent of side thoughts started because I was trying to double check. What is the date, you guys? Sorry. That's going to drive me crazy. Like, I need to know now. I want to say we're going to carry this Aries North Node transit out for the rest of the year. But I want to verify that for sure. But we're just going to move more forward. I don't want to take up too much time on that. We're still so much in a place of swimming through the grief of, changing all of these patterns. And if you think about, like, imagine electricity, on switch, off switch, change the switch, how does the pattern of flow? Imagine that and compare it to your mental body, compare it to your emotional body. And then now Spirit is flipping me back to that whole image of water flooding out the trail. Oh no, I've hiked. This has been my favorite hike. Shout out to my hikers, okay? My nature, my state park people, don't get me started. But it makes me think of how you're like, I've hiked this trail. And maybe now I'm seeing an image of like you with a child. And maybe that's your inner child. And you're like, we've hiked this trail in this very same way for so long. How dare they flood the fucking bridges? Maybe we built some of those bridges because we were doing the best with the materials we had at the time to cross the waters. I don't know. This is how I see it, like this. And Spirit's like, a lot of the bridges are just going to get flooded out right now, okay? And you've just got to fucking trust. And if you can't reach to the other side to connect with someone or with an energy or an emotional contract, you've got to trust that it's not meant to be that way right now. But then you might come around and find tomorrow or 2 weeks later or years later, the bridges will be back, but they'll be built better. They'll be different. But now Spirit is modeling this and showing it to me like brain synapse connections in the mind, or the connections maybe between your chakras, you could even say, that then either strengthen the pathways like a good bridge, or you bleed out like a river that's trying to travel through and it has no natural barriers and it's bleeding out everywhere. It's not going to have the same good power. I think it's really tough though, wading through this energy because of the level of that's the opposite of what I'm going to say. Hello. Because of the level of detachment that is required. And I think sometimes because of, codependency, because of the whole, we could say, look, Eight of Wands, we could say the whole maybe narcissistic paradigms. We could even say just trauma and wow, okay, cards. See, it's almost like saying you've got to trust the vision and the energy will come through with a quickness, but it'll come through exactly where it needs to when it's exactly the time that it needs to. That's why when we practice this energetic and spiritual and emotional hygiene and we talk about detachment, maybe cord cutting, and that's a fine term to use. Don't hesitate to use that term, by the way. I've been smudging with lavender, but Spirit was just saying, like, clear the air. So I'm using some of my white water that I make. I call this white water. Sometimes it's called spring clean white water. It's used a lot in cleaning, like literally cleaning. It's kind of like my own version. And I actually go up to the top of the watershed to collect what I would call as living water, and charge it and work with it. And then I have essential oils that I like. I also have like a local person who makes their own version of a Florida water blend, and we use all that together. It's good stuff. We're just going to clear it out a little bit because the emotional energy is heavy. But this is also kind of like spirit, your ancestors, your team, and higher self. Look, on this card, there's a river. I'm not mistaken. I think it's common to see a river on this card. But it's almost like the energy of what we were talking about. Listen, stuff is coming through with a quickness, and it may knock out some bridges, and you may find yourself down the river or on one side of the river or the other, but you've got to trust it either way it goes. Because now, listen, Spirit is showing me, this reminds me, it's almost like as if someone were meditating before and they could not get across some sort of river. Is this emotional? Is this a barrier between you and another person? It could be a career. It's a barrier between you and something that you desired to have made manifest in your life. Spirit says it like this. And the message comes through and such is that maybe someone meditated for a long time, and they're like, how do I move forward? And then boom, 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 boom. I'm hearing like a lot of towers, right? I feel that because I've had years where leading up to, where it was like tower, 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 tower in the years. And you're like, whoa, did I manifest this on myself? Spirit is wanting to remind you too that Mars is in Taurus as well. Mars will be in Taurus almost to the end of Cancer season for us. I think it's like July 20th though. And this is a very persistent, this is a very strong, this is a very, it's not impulsive, which sometimes Mars likes to be. It's this guy, he's standing now. This person, it almost reminds me of the biblical story when Moses parts the sea. Do you get that? You see what I'm talking about? It's like he went in where no one thought that you could hold a vision, and he parted it so that he could walk through with his vision. This is very much what this is giving me. But it's almost like we had to trust. It's like now I'm seeing that and go with me. No, I'm not a religious person. If this is your first time here, I'm just using a story that teaches a lot of wisdom. And you can find a lot of those, and you don't necessarily have to be religious to get the wisdom from the teachings, okay? From a lot of these parable style storytellers. You understand? Okay? It's like, I see it's like the guy and he's like, hold. You get it? It's a very Moses vibe. Get with me? Okay? Hold, right? Hold the line. Now I'm hearing that. Hold the line. Burr, 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 burr. Love isn't always on time. Is that Toto? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Right? And they're like, hold. Okay? Because, again, the message that we open with about the teaching on detachment and working with cord cutting and energetically understanding the bigger parameters, that you don't have to do energetic work with a specific person, place, or thing in mind. And in fact, if you've worked one-on-one with me, I will always lovingly correct you as I have to correct myself. Hello. Bring it back into yourself. Because you ain't controlling nobody outside yourself. And if you think you are, you playing a joke on yourself, where you only setting yourself up for karma, that you will receive those lessons to be integrated at a later time. Spirit says it like this. Okay? So I'm getting this image, and it's very much like, hold the line. Okay? And when it's time to come through, all them bridges about to be bust out. But then just when you thought you were flooded over with water and you wouldn't be able to ever cross again or something like this, you will see either where you get the vision, right? Or a vision that you've had maybe for a long time. I keep seeing someone like up on a mountaintop, like looking at this river. Maybe if you practice prayer, if you practice meditation, if you practice, whatever the case may be, right? Vision work. whatever the case may be. I'm hearing, okay, what am I hearing? Oh, shoot, hold on, y'all, because I'm hearing, what is it? I was born by the river in a little tent. What is it? Just like that river, I've been something ever since, right? And then it's been a long time coming, right? But change is gonna come. Okay, you with me? Change is gonna come. I'm hearing that. And then I just keep hearing that, burr, 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 burr. Love isn't always on time, right? Hold the line, dun, 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 dun. And it's something about it's not for us to, first of all, time isn't even what we think it is anyway. And our higher self understands that, but it's hard to, okay, Spirit, this is very Jupiter and Gemini as well. Our mental bodies are still being upgraded with the appropriate software and like it's returning to an organic programming that's not inverted or has like dark inverted programming running in our mental body. We are evolving to be able to better integrate like linear and quantum at the same time. It's almost like switching hats, but being able to do it more quickly. It's like now I'm seeing the star card. It's like walking with your foot in two different worlds and kind of becoming good at that. Right? Talk about timeline hopping. Talk about a leap year. Whoa. Wow, look at, well, this basically all but flew out of the deck. The Knight of Wands is kind of like a passionate card that's kind of ready to go forth. You know what's interesting though? The Knight of Wands, like I'm noticing in this card, is very dry in the background here. It's almost like I'm being brought to the fact that like the Knight of Wands would be the opposite of like Mars and Taurus energy. And it's like it's good to be passionate. It's good to be divinely inspired. But it's almost like I don't know. I'm hearing you have to let the flood do the replenishing work that it needs to do. Now I'm thinking about how the high holy days of the sun, Spirit says the days of Ra. Okay, we're moving. We will be soon moving into Leo season. You know, Sirius, the dog star season. We'll be moving into the season where the Egyptians would celebrate if they would get flooded by the river and then like all the fruits that would come from that. But they understood that the land may be dry and barren for some time. Now I'm hearing again that hold the line. Something is not always on time. And it's like we want to have the passion, the divine inspiration, even the confidence and the courage, you know, that the most courageous, the bravest knight who gets sent out on a journey and he's raring to go and ain't nothing going to stop him. But it's something about balancing, you know, you have to let the flooding do its work. And I think that's emotional work and that's cleansing and that's, you know, listen, hold the line. Like we're not going to run out and pursue anything until we make sure that it's like all our vessels are cleared. All of our timelines are cleared. What I'm hearing, all the clocks are reset, whatever that means. I mean, it means a lot to me, but I can't even begin to try to break that down in this video right now. It's very big on your spirit guides. Why does the light keep playing with me, y'all? Your spirit guides, your ancestors and team. It's like, it's not the time to be going and getting real wily and risky right now. Now, I will say Mercury and Leo, right? Maybe it is the time to say, I need to express a truth so that I can continue doing this work through my emotional flooding or the release of old timelines or the closing of karmic loop. And maybe, and you do, and you should, you know, but it's not to do it in a chaotic way, an impulsive way, a risky way. It's not to stir up unnecessary like passions and emotions. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a very like, hold the line, you know, something is not always going to be in the timing that you thought it was. There's a lot of mental reprogramming, you know, as we've talked about before, again, with Jupiter and Gemini, which will continue out on into June of next year. There's a lot of reprogramming in the mental bodies going on right now, in the mind, in the third eye, in the crown chakra, right? receiving a lot of messages and integrating them into an entire new, I don't know, I'm hearing operating system, but it's like in reference to your mental body. And now Spirit is showing me, you know, that image where people will share sometimes, you guys, and it's like, you're literally just a meat suit being run by this, and it looks like an alien, but it's like they took your brain out and it's only connected to, it's like it's floating around with your nervous system. Y'all know the image I'm talking about? Yeah, it's like massive upgrades, and somehow this is also connected to ancestral genetics and DNA and some sort of like spiritual bottleneck that we're going through. And it's going to last for a while. Possibly the entirety of Pluto and Aquarius, but we've yet to see. You know, definitely, it's like we're, again, I'm seeing, remember we were talking about that image of being dunked repeatedly, or the lady in the shower and they keep hosing her down and she's like, I don't need to be cleansed anymore, right? I'm clean. It's like this. But it's like Saturn is going to keep having us remember 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and do the routine again. You're going to be dipped into the water again. And you're just like, I don't want to be dipped anymore. And the water is emotions, right? The water is divine feminine receptivity, almost like you're forcibly put in places where you will have to receive. You won't have a choice, or you will have to slow down. You won't have a choice. I'm hearing like gearing it all the way down. Because what would you do if you were preparing for a flood? You want to make sure you got to the highest land possible. You good. You're about to set up because you're waiting on the waters to recede. But ironically, you need the waters for the replenishment of your soil, right? And then you would go into these high holy days of the sun and, you know, do all of these celebrations. And this carries us to the end of Leo season, right? Yeah, so I think that it's definitely important that you make room to, if you're not expressing your truth this week prior to leading up to the new moon, okay, what would our checklist be? I would say you need to make room to express your truths that are coming into your heart space out of doing all this emotional work with all this water. You're probably going to need that even as we go into the new moon. So maybe that looks like really intentionally deciding to express your truth to someone, but being really careful about how you go about it. Because there's, you know, I don't know, it's almost like with Pluto doing this, it's almost like we need to get some stuff off our chest. We need to tweak our perspective. We need to understand where our mind and our emotions have evolved so far, because Pluto, starting like, I want to say July 7th, really starting next week, it's going to be like ping, 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 opposition, opposition, opposition. Is this going to hold, or does it need to die? Is this for your best and highest good? Is this for your, is this evolving you? Is this for your highest and best, you know, individual expression? We're talking about Pluto and Aquarius, right? If not, ping, ping, ping. It's got to get knocked out. Remember, we were talking about this a couple months ago. If it can't hold the line, da, 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 it's got to get knocked out. And so it's almost like we're doing preparatory work as we go toward the new moon, and we will be preparing for kind of Pluto to do a lot of big work. And then we kind of have this chance, you know, Venus will go into retrograde. We're in preparation for a lot of things that are causing blockages to, I don't know, like the evolution of our heart, but in a way that it connects to our emotions, you know. Dang. I will circle back around and say I do think that banishment work, or maybe you would say meditation on detachment, or just practicing, is so simple as to even just say, and I think rituals are beautiful. I love, you know what, cord cutting is great. I love those candle sets. I think it's great to do protective work right now as well, you know, because when people are grieving heavy emotions and they're not in a self-aware place and they're not in a self-evolved place, they're not higher vibrational and different frequencies. You get what I'm saying? Projection is real, and sometimes it's not even intentional. So we just want to have good hygiene in our homes, spiritual hygiene, all that, right? especially in such a water season, especially with Neptune and all that, so Neptunian. Remember how I told you back it all out and look at the rulership is so Neptunian, even still right now. Very moon, very water, very Neptunian, very Cancerian. So, people who are dealing with a lot of projection, a lot of self-loathing, a lot of just really tough emotions on the inside, and maybe they're working on releasing them, but maybe they're not. And then you couple that with substance abuse and trying to escape reality, it's not a good combination. So you can get a lot of kind of, I don't know, listen, Spirit is saying like shit spewed in your face. So Spirit is saying it like that. So and the thing is that you have a choice to return it to sender, and technically you have every right to do that, but you also have a choice to just alchemize it with love. And I'm going to leave that choice to you because we're at different places in our path. You know what I'm saying? And we've been the spewer our damn selves at one time or another. Have we not? Like, let's be real. Remember how we talked about that Cancer moon mirror? I'll stare directly at the sun, but never at the mirror. And I laugh because, child, I'm trying to say, I'm not over here trying to tell you anything that I haven't struggled with. Okay. Now I'm just hearing, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. Listen, alchemy is best practice when you understand when you used to be in the position the other person was in. Does that mean you accept being treated shitty? Or you let somebody no, you learn how to alchemize with love, and you take that same energy, because energy is just as suitable, it's just in a different form. And then you utilize it for something better. That's how you alchemize it, okay? Because there might be a lot of drinking, there might be a lot of substance abuse in this water season with this stellium and all this Cancer and Neptune. You know what I'm saying? Shadow Neptune heavy, Shadow Pisces, Shadow Neptune heavy is, I'm just going to drink. I have to check out. I can't process all of that I'm feeling right now. And I need you to understand that the entities and the energetics that are running through the collective, be it people, places, or things, or propaganda, or whatever, will just be smiling in your face, and you don't even know what's going on behind closed doors, right? So I'm saying, banishment work, detachment work, good spiritual hygiene, taking care of your home space, your altars, and whatever you use to practice, right? Meditation is great right now because we return to a place where we don't have to be connected to everything, and everything is not influencing us. And the caveat to having all this water, having all this Neptune, having all this Pisces is that we can always touch down, get grounded, and return to the oneness of all things, right? And then that really just helps us say, you know what? If it's coming, let it come. If it's going, let it go. I'm just, releasing anything that's not for my highest and best good right now. And it's really that simple, right? Okay, I'm going to shuffle one more time. How the hell? Okay, are we at 42 minutes? What is this? 5 of Swords. See, I don't know. 5 of Swords with... Whoa, okay, all right. 5 of Swords, 6 of Wands, Queen of Pentacles. It's almost like... this energy of looping back into old patterns where, let's say, it's swords, it's communication, it's mental functions, it's words, it's quote unquote spelling, it's air, right? It's almost like being pulled into old mental loops and patterns, negative thought patterns. It gives me this feeling of like you've already defeated. You kind of sit higher. Again, we return to the image of someone sitting up on the hill. You sit higher up on the hill. The teaching about the Queen of Pentacles is that she was on a long journey through a desert that she brought fertility and replenishment to. Is the Queen of Pentacles kind of like journey story, which is kind of interesting considering some of the stuff we were talking about back here. So it's like, don't go back into battles that you have already been victorious of, because you're up on that hill, you're at higher land to observe the flood from a different perspective for a reason. That makes me think of the Hangman card, which came out for me this morning. Be in a place of the stillness of the void, of the observing. And is that of other people's patterns? Is it of your own patterns? Or are you just being asked to wait? And it could be all three, right? All right, but I do love for us that we have vision. I love that spirit, our ancestors, and our team, and you know, our entire spirit team, along with us and our higher versions of ourselves, are guiding us always and providing us with energy and protection and replenishment. Eight of Wands, right? Okay, and I love that we're sitting in this Queen of Pentacles energy, definitely. Again, Mars and Taurus is working in our favor. Uranus and Taurus is working in our favor. Okay? So I send you guys so much love. Be gentle with yourself. Meditate. Do your banishing. Do your detachment work. You know, however that works for you. Be in water, with water, utilizing water tools. Spiritual baths are great, especially in this season right now. But just get into a daggum clean, clear, fresh, clean, living water source. Put your feet in that shit. Set the intention, right? When you wash your hands, pour the water reverently over your hands. Set a dish of water out just to honor. You know what I'm saying? Working with water is going to be great for you right now. But I look forward to catching back up with you guys and speaking to you on the new moon. We will work up to that until Friday. Until then, take good care of yourselves. Excuse me. Slow down. Create room, you know, space and time to move slower, because there's a lot going on, you know, in the collective, because it's such a big purge, and that hits everybody different, especially if they're not doing work on themselves, if they're not taking responsibility for themselves, if they're not practicing awareness and healing on their journey. The level of the spirit is saying, the level of the floods, you know what I'm saying? The flood will meet you way differently. That depends on where you're at on high or low ground. That depends on where you're at, where your house is at right now. The flood's going to meet you way differently, right? Everyone way differently. So, you know, take good care. All right, guys, move a little bit slower, get more rest, pay attention to your dream space. Make outlets to express what it is that you need to say based on what you're feeling. Even if you're writing a letter to that person, or to that old family member, or to that old mother or father wound, write a letter, burn it if you need to. I don't know, but give yourself an outlet to express how you feel too. You might type up that text message 3-4 times and delete it, but it still is a ritual in and of itself. Maybe you got a file and you just type out all those emails, but you don't ever send them. You just put them in the file, or you delete them. Do what you need to do to give your heart an outlet to express what it needs to say too, right? But just do it with care, with wisdom and discernment. All right. Okay, guys, I love you. Enjoy your day. I look forward to checking in with you soon. Have a great rest of the day. All right. Bye. Take care.